with Heather Murdoch.
Welcome back to Love, Hope, and Faith. I'm Heather Murdoch, and I'm here today with one of my very best friends, Adele Messier. And you're sharing your story with us today, which is such an inspirational story of overcoming through Christ.
Yes.
So we started off in the beginning of the segment talking about how you were taken out of your birth mother's home when you were 5 months old. You were adopted by your aunt and uncle, which is a huge blessing. And they began the process of getting you into therapy because you had born with some physical challenges. But you said you didn't have a lot of confidence. So you kind of were more on the shy side at school. And what did you believe about yourself at that point? Do you remember? Did you have insecurities?
I was very, very insecure.
Yeah.
Always, but seeking that attention.
Yeah.
Wanting to have fun. But there was part of me also that just didn't fit in. And I knew it. But for the most part, I was okay with it. There was just, a little bit of the social pressure around that.
Yeah.
Because I was working so hard, in my therapy. And I had great, loving parents, a loving family. I have awesome siblings who just supported me and showed me that support and the love. So there wasn't anything that I was empty or lacking.
Right, exactly, which is, again, the huge blessing. And I just see the hand of God just saying, I'm going to take you in and put you in this family that's going to love you and give you every opportunity to excel. But there was that part of you deep within that was broken, is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And then you had a trauma that happened when you were in elementary school. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I was sexually abused, and but I didn't say anything. And I remember because at that age they didn't really speak too early about sex and things, and so I remember the first day when I realized exactly truly what had happened. And I was with my friends, and they had used the word molestation. And I was like, "Oh, what does that mean?" And
how many years later was that?
That was probably like maybe 4 years later. And I remember just being in shock. I mean, I could tell you the weather. I could tell you what time of day it was. I just remember being in shock and being, "Oh my gosh, this happened to me."
So did you feel, Adele, do you remember in that moment if you felt shame, like it was your fault, or did you feel victimized? Do you remember having...
I felt both.
Okay.
I felt, because it wasn't just one instance.
Okay.
And I also felt kind of dumb. I felt like I should have known what that word was and what it meant. But, back then it wasn't talked about as much like it is now.
That's right, yeah.
And so I just remember also I shut down. I shut down. I couldn't.
It's like too much to deal with. So your mind just rejects it almost, right?
And what can your mind at that age comprehend?
Yeah, exactly. It's too much.
You're not even reaching puberty. You don't even know about that kind of stuff.
Time for you.
Yeah.
And I've talked to so many people, as we both have, that have been through sexual abuse, and it seemed like the victim always views himself as being guilty of something. That it's their fault, that they should have done something different to prevent it or stop it, or you know what I'm saying? And that's just such a lie, because you're a child being taken advantage of.
Yes.
Yeah, and manipulated.
Exactly. Exactly. And the brain takes you where it needs to take you so that you can cope and get through it.
That's right.
Really.
That's right.
And so I remember I couldn't even, when it really started like coming out about, abuse and different kinds of things like on the news and things.
Right.
I remember I couldn't even watch the TV. I couldn't even hear the word.
Yes.
I remember that also my affections got a little distorted and twisted. I was very offstandish. I used to be a very hugging, lovable child, and there would be periods in my life where I wasn't all of a sudden.
So you withdrew.
I withdrew. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, did your parents get a feeling there was something going on with you?
Oh no, because I didn't. I didn't let on.
And you wore your mask. We talked about that a lot on the show, how people wear their masks. So you put on your mask and put it somewhere else and tried to cope through it,
and whenever I would see that person, I would just put on my little mask and do my little act, and then, just carry it inside. It was too much. I was embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly. So Adele, how did that shape the rest of your life? So that was when you were what, 11, 12, when you realized that it happened to you, and then you go into high school and all those things. So how did it begin to shape you and change you, the abuse?
Well, it affected my trust a lot, as you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was very shy, especially around boys. And it very around sexual content and topics and things like that. I was very quiet. I felt, naive, so to speak, in a way. Because you talk about these things as teenagers, and when puberty starts to happen and things, and, you giggle and all these different little things that you hear about. And I just remember feeling shame. When topics like that would come up, or things like on the television or something. When you're a little teenager, you'd sneak in a rated R movie or something like that. I would just feel this darkness and this heaviness around that topic. I never forgot. It was a recurring memory, like some have had.
So something you thought of every day?
Yes, it's something that I always knew. It's not something I've forgotten all of a sudden, and I'm having this big traumatic experience. I never forgot. And I would have moments, where I would just go in my room and I would just cry.
So depressed.
Yeah.
And knowing your story, I've heard your testimony before, and the parts that I've related to based on my past. You said that you had become more performance oriented.
Yes.
So tell us about that. How did that happen?
Well, I guess out of what had happened to me, I always felt like I had to be better, or I had to do more.
Yeah.
And especially because when I was younger and I was doing that, I was in physical therapy until I was in the 6th grade. So I was in it for a really long time. And so I always felt that I had to strive harder to be equally to the normal kids.
Yeah.
So to speak.
You had to work harder.
Yeah. And so I would always, I had, natural smarts, of course, and natural abilities, but I would always have to get that A.
So you feel like you had to prove yourself?
Yeah.
I think the sexual abuse added to that? Because it
hurts your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think that stemmed more from the physical and, the things I had to overcome at such a young age.
Right, yeah.
But all trauma has an effect on your self-esteem and on your inner being.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of adds a darkness to you.
Absolutely. So then you go through high school, and did you have any boyfriends in high school? Relationships?
Not a whole lot. I was kind of shy, and I was really focused, that overachiever.
Yeah.
I was really focused on my schooling.
Yeah.
And getting out there and making something of myself. So that was, and I always heard, go and do what you want to do, and go and get that job, get the career, and then love will come later.
Yeah. Like there's a formula. Yeah. This is
exactly.
what you do. This 2 + 2 = 4.
Oh yeah. Have all your ducks in a row, and then do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're trying to be. Kind of seemed like maybe you were the kind of person that tried to live by the rules quite a bit.
Yeah.
Did you?
Then also trying to be that it was very strong of women.
Yeah.
And being a self-contained, independent. Woman.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
I can do it all. I can bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So you didn't then. When did you finally, admit that this happened to you? Because I know there was a time when you did share it with your family. When was that?
Yeah. That was, I guess I was older. I was probably like 29.
Okay.
Maybe.
So you carried that all that time. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I carried it, and I had sought therapy. I had opened up to my best friend about it when there was just a period where I was just so bleak and so dark that the opportunity finally just came to just say something to your friend, someone that you can trust.
Yeah.
And so I had been seeking therapy, and for a while I didn't want to rock the boat. And I felt like, okay, I don't need to say anything.
Yeah.
I'm seeking my own therapy.
Yeah.
And I also used to have nightmares. I used to have nightmares. I would see the whole court trial. I would see my family torn apart. And that scared me more than what had happened, to be honest, because I loved my family.
Yes, exactly.
You know, and especially...
You would feel responsible for hurting your family, and that's so common. The victim feels responsible for protecting everybody else.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you also developed OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder, right?
Yes.
And so tell me how that started and when that started.
Okay.
Because that was connected to the abuse, right?
Well, I mean, OCD is a mental illness in itself. It doesn't necessarily connect to abuse, but I attribute at least half of it to the abuse, because, you know, when you go through sexual abuse and things like that, sexual assault, you feel very empty.
Yeah.
You feel dirty inside.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So I've probably had tendencies for a long time in my childhood, but it really showed up probably in my 20s.
And we're going to actually take a break in like 30 seconds. But when we come back, I'd like you to explain to the viewers, you know, what are some of the symptoms of OCD? Because I think, isn't there a spectrum? I mean, people can have a very slight to extreme, right?
Oh, yeah.
And some people may have some of the symptoms and not really know what it is because it's very light, but they should still probably seek help for that, I would imagine.
Or to even discern if it is something or if it's not.
If it's not, okay,
Yeah.
okay, good. So it'll help us understand that. Good, okay. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned and to hear the rest of the story.